Hey friends, Justin here with a little recap of today's Oscar nominations. I couldn't be happier. I'm on cloud nine with the Academy Award nominations this year. Films like Dune, uh, Being the Ricardos, The Power of the Dog, King Richard, a lot of films that I didn't think were going to get Oscar consideration have found multiple nominations. I don't know if that has a lot to do with the fact that there are a lot, I'm going to say fewer releases, fewer major releases with so many Marvel films out, but I honestly could not be happier. I want to go through just a few of the actor and best in film categories and tell you who I think is going to win and some of my favorites. So Best Picture is long and drawn out. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 films nominated for Best Picture this year. Nightmare Alley, the Guillermo del Toro film, is nominated for Best Picture. I've seen everything he's made, since The Devil's Backbone back in the 90s up until today. And I couldn't be happier for him, to be nominated again after Shape of Water for Best Picture. One that's surprising to me is Don't Look Up. It was not my favorite film of 2021. I found it to be a lot of folks just screaming at the camera, and it was pretty annoying, I'll be perfectly honest. So one I'm not rooting for is Don't Look Up. Dune has got a nomination for Best Picture of the Year. It's nominated here and in many other technical categories like cinematography and things like that, costume design. I have a feeling Dune is going to take a lot when it comes down to the technical, the world building, the set design, and all of that kind of thing. I think it'll be a major player at the Academy this year in those categories. I'm going to be honest with you, not so much, I think, in terms of story like Best Picture. We've got a film called Drive My Car that I have not seen yet. Belfast, the Kenneth Branagh film. Paul Thomas Anderson's Licorice Pizza, which was also one of my favorites of the year. So this category is already shaping up to be competitive for me. The Power of the Dog, my number one film of last year. And as a matter of fact, The Power of the Dog is leading the pack this year with the most Academy Award nominations. We talked about this film a few weeks ago if you checked out my best films of favorite films of 2021, and I couldn't be happier. Just to give you a little bit of context, the film Dune got 10 nominations, and Power of the Dog got even more. We've got Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, so it's nice to see him in the Academy conversation again. King Richard with Will Smith. I loved King Richard. I really, really did. I am surprised to see that it's in consideration for Best Picture of the Year, but I absolutely loved the film. And a film called Coda. I think that was an Apple TV release. So Apple TV is now in the Academy conversation. So who I think will win is, I'm hoping it's The Power of the Dog. I'm biased because that was my favorite film of the year. But other films like West Side Story and Nightmare Alley, they weren't marketed that well and weren't received, all that well. Same thing with Power of the Dog. It was a smaller release on Netflix, but I absolutely loved it. Let me get to, and the next is a shorter category, Best Actor of the Year. We've got Andrew Garfield for Tick, Tick, Boom. We've got Javier Bardem for Being the Ricardos. Now, that was also on my list of favorites for the year. I could not be happier. Loved his performance of Ricky. It really I really felt like I was watching Ricky Ricardo and being the Ricardos, and Desi Arnaz, rather. Benedict Cumberbatch for The Power of the Dog. He's got my vote. Denzel Washington for The Tragedy of Macbeth. It was a phenomenal film and a phenomenal performance. And Will Smith for King Richard. I have to give it to Benedict Cumberbatch for The Power of the Dog. That film was just, his performance in that film was just transformational. And it really left me with chills after I watched it. Will Smith, and Denzel Washington are a close second, tied for second for me in that particular category, but fingers crossed for me for Benedict Cumberbatch. Best Actress. So we've got The Eyes of Tammy Faye, Jessica Chastain. And it could be her year. Could be Jessica Chastain's year. We've got one of my newly minted favorites, and that's Olivia Colman for The Lost Daughter. She's been on my radar for the last 2 or 3 years, just turning in exceptional performance after exceptional performance. We've got Nicole Kidman for Being the Ricardos. Couldn't be happier for her. Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers. So this is big for Penelope. And my favorite, my reluctant pick, and that, not reluctant, but my pick is Kristen Stewart for Spencer. The reason I say my reluctant pick is she was, skipped over at the SAG Awards, I think also at the BAFTAs. Lady Gaga got the nomination in place of Kristen Stewart. But the Academy Awards have changed the conversation again. I had kind of all but, given up on K-Stu, but here she is, nominated for Best Actress of the Year. And so, while it's a tight category, I think Nicole Kidman might get it for playing Lucy. My fingers are crossed for K-Stu. Best Director, we've got Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza. Phenomenal film. Steven Spielberg for West Side Story. Glad he's back in the conversation. Ryosuke Hamaguchi for Drive My Car. Kenneth Branagh, an industry favorite, for Belfast. And Jane Campion for The Power of the Dog. I'm grateful that she's in the conversation and been nominated. So for me, it's between Paul Thomas Anderson and Jane Campion for Power of the Dog. Best Supporting Actress, we've got Judi Dench for Belfast. You can't go wrong with Judi Dench. Anjanou Ellis, who was exceptional in King Richard. Jessie Buckley for The Lost Daughter. So The Lost Daughter has been nominated in multiple categories. Ariana DeBose for West Side Story. And Kirsten Dunst for The Power of the Dog. Listen, if you're a 90s kid, if you're 33, 35 plus, Kirsten Dunst, in the same conversation, with Kristen Stewart, she had an era, all the way from Interview with the Vampire, I believe that was 94. Kristen Stewart has had an exceptional career in Hollywood. And so I am, not just because I loved The Power of the Dog the most and it's my favorite, but I am rooting for Kirsten Dunst to take this Academy Award. I think it would be a breath of fresh air for her and pretty life-changing. And I think, let's see if there's any other categories. Best Supporting Actor, we've got 2 nominees for Best Supporting Actor. For The Power of the Dog. We've got Cody Smith-McPhee and Jesse Plemons. Jesse Plemons, who plays Kirsten Dunst's son. So all of the major players, the whole starring cast of The Power of the Dog were nominated for Oscars. And I couldn't be happier because let me tell you guys, I've been going through the year second-guessing myself, thinking that my taste is skewed and thinking, I just have a narrow view of film. And kind of curmudgeon, kind of an old man, not liking Marvel and not following Spider-Man and all of these things. Not that I put all my stock behind the Academy and their decisions, but it's nice to see that some of the films that I really connected with, those that have some technical understanding and education, also see the value in. We've got Troy Kotsur for Coda, J.K. Simmons for Being the Ricardos, and Ciaran Hinds for Belfast. I have to very, very soon watch Belfast and see what the fuss is about there, because it's been nominated in several categories. Let's just jump right through and see if there are any other categories that jump out. Most of the like best screenplay, we've got The Lost Daughter, Dune, Power of the Dog, Drive My Car, and Coda. Best cinematography, we've got Dune again. Here we've got Nightmare Alley. Guillermo del Toro, he's known for his cinematography. I grew up with watching his films and Baz Luhrmann films and really finding an appreciation through those directors about cinematography. We've got The Power of the Dog for Best Cinematography, The Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. Here I've got Dune for cinematography. The world building in Dune was just incredible. Best Original Screenplay, we've got Licorice Pizza, Belfast, King Richard, The Worst Person in the World, and Don't Look Up. Don't Look Up is not one I'm rooting for. So, and Best Original Screenplay, I've got to go with Licorice Pizza. Now, for comic book fans, for Marvel and DC fans, Best Visual Effects, we've got Dune, we've got Spider-Man No Way Home, Free Guy, the Ryan Reynolds film, No Time to Die, Daniel Craig's last entry as Bond, and Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So that's interesting. Visual effects is a category and a space where you can recognize some of those kinds of movies that don't focus so much on story. Costume design, we've got Cruella, who is my favorite to win, Nightmare Alley, Dune, Cyrano, and West Side Story. I hope Cruella, which has already been greenlit for a sequel, I hope that they take it. And, that's going to round out the highlights for me. Dune and The Power of the Dog went on to be nominated for so many more categories, and I just couldn't be happier. What are your thoughts? Did any of your favorites of the year make it onto the Academy Awards list? Now, we're not going to put all of our eggs and credibility in the basket of the Academy Awards, but it is a bellwether. It does tell us some things about the future of what films will be financed, the directors that are going to go on to be, Oscar winners, and that can say a lot about projects that are upcoming in the next few years. So share your favorites, your thoughts. Were you surprised that Lady Gaga was snubbed and Kristen Stewart got the nomination? What did you think? Thanks for joining me for my little preview of the Academy Award nominations. Leave this video a like if you will, a comment, and please consider subscribing to my channel for more movie and TV related content. I'll see you soon.